The Lakers use a strong fourth quarter push to beat New Orleans. Are they showing signs of life defensively? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to you and you and you and you for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on weekends, even on holidays, and now more than once a day, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. You could be a Spotify person. You might be one of those fancy Apple people. Maybe you're one of the 37,000 plus subscribers to the Locked On Lakers YouTube channel. No matter how you're doing it, you're helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network anywhere in this or any other known universe. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. We've covered the Lakers for nearly 20 years. The ESPN, with the LA Times, with the Athletic. Lots to cover in this episode. A strong, balanced offensive performance where everybody's chipping in. Great game from Marcus Smart. Got 5 starters in double figures. Center play, something to look at. LeBron and Luka, very strong, Andy. But let's talk about that fourth quarter push that got the Lakers past New Orleans. 110-101 was the final score, but this was a game that was in question for most of it until the Lakers legitimately kind of put a hammerlock on it.
Yeah, when you said earlier that you thought it was a really strong performance, there were elements of individual performances that were strong, and I think the attributes that you saw from the Lakers in this game in terms of physicality, in terms of energy, in terms of swinging, if often wildly, at the Pelicans, trying to match blow for blow. Like, this was a game where both teams,
to be clear, strong late push, messy first 3 quarters.
But that's why I wanted to clarify this. Like,
that's what I said, but I mean, yeah, sure.
Just to make sure it was crystal clear, the Lakers spent a lot of this game flailing about. The third quarter, they had 10 of their 21 turnovers alone in the third. Austin Reeves, he found some ways to really contribute strong in the second half of the game. The first half was an absolute adventure for him offensively. The team was doing a lot that seemed kind of on tilt or out of control, but they played super hard the entire time. Every time it felt like New Orleans was actually starting to take real control of the game, they managed to at least throw a couple punches to get themselves back to serve. Then in the fourth quarter, they became the team that actually executed down the stretch. They did a very good job of walling off Zion in particular in the fourth quarter and forcing him either into misses or turnovers. That felt like a real emphasis because New Orleans scored 60 points in the paint in this game, and a fair amount of that was Zion. But when it really mattered in this game, as much as the Lakers made a lot of avoidable mistakes
21
in the first 3 quarters,
which obviously helped fuel the Pelicans' attack.
But when it really mattered, they came on strong down the stretch. JJ went with an unusual or semi-unusual starting 5 with Jaxson Hayes to go along with
finishing
5 to go along with Luka, LeBron, Austin, Marcus Smart, who we'll talk about is kind of he is kind of the official 4th member of the starting group, even if JJ has said there's only 3 that are in Sharpie. And they did a really nice job down the stretch of playing really controlled basketball when it mattered most.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Lakers were down by 4 with about 9 minutes to go. Outscored New Orleans significantly, including a 17-7 down over the last 5:40 or something like that. So they cleaned stuff up. The turnovers essentially stopped over the last 9 minutes of the game. Their turnovers, they forced turnovers from New Orleans. And look, some of the stat lines are, very positive. Nice solid game from Luka. 27 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. I'm going to say
turnovers aside,
except for turnovers, for basically every name that follows.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say all of the following people had problems with turnovers. LeBron,
really
12 from the floor, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, turnovers. Austin strong second half, 2 huge fourth quarter threes, turnovers. Like it's all there. But can I float a theory for you on one of the things that helped turn this game around?
Sure.
Tell me if you think it's got some legs. The officials in this game spent about 3 quarters getting yelled at by both teams. And I say this not as a judgment call on whether or not they were calling the game well or not. Both teams were just the whole time. They went to both benches and said, no more. We're going to, if you look at us the wrong way, we're going to tee you up. It forced everyone to stop complaining. I think there were like 3 or 4 tees called in like an 80-second stretch.
Luka got a tee, Luke Kennard got a tee, Trey Murphy.
Yeah. Ayton eventually got one a little bit later in the, but
yes,
generally speaking.
And Ayton's was weak. He got a block on Zion and basically pumped his fist in excitement. And
no, he was not pumping his fist in excitement. He was swinging his arm in frustration at the foul call. He heard the whistle, and you're 100%. He was doing it in reaction to the whistle.
Okay. All right.
But the point being here, down the stretch, the Lakers had to shut up.
Yes.
And I legitimately think not being able to make a sound toward the referees made a huge difference in getting them to kind of focus and just play. If I might make a request, I would like the officials to start every Lakers game like this and make it so the Lakers can't complain the whole time. I wonder how much it would affect them in a positive way.
I mean, we talked before about this team complains too much, and it starts with Luka, and say this just because he is both an incessant complainer and also he's the leader of this team. He is the face of the franchise, and the face of the franchise often sets the tone. We covered the Kobe Powell
team. He's the
team.
head of the complaining snake.
Yes. I mean,
snake complains a lot. And
look, man, we covered the ultimate NBA snake in Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba. You know what Kobe did a lot of? Complaining.
You know what
it led to? Pau Gasol complaining, Lamar Odom complaining, Andrew Bynum complaining, and like down the line.
And, like Luka was getting, early in this game, again, very disjointed. It was frustrating for both teams. And it's not a referendum on whether the officials were doing a good job or not. But like Luka was complaining about lane violations. Like he was complaining about everything. It was very much like, what was the thing like a couple years ago where like Chris Paul like got somebody teed up because their uniform wasn't tucked in properly or whatever it was.
Yeah, Chris Paul was the ultimate hall monitor.
Right. I feel like, Luka was starting to do that. And they did a lot of good things down the stretch. And you pointed out playing really hard throughout was a big deal because they didn't have to turn it back on. Ayton for different stretches of this game looked like he was playing with oven mitts on. He just couldn't hold on to the ball. Final stat line was pretty good, but he played 25 minutes. You and I might talk about this in the course of this show or later in the week or whatever. It feels to me like JJ is saying, go for fewer minutes, play really hard. Just go play hard, play really, really hard. If you play really hard, we will, Nobody's going to complain to you in the locker room. Vibes are going to be good, all that kind of stuff.
Channel your inner Clint Capella, if you will.
Something like that. Yes. But like, if, and I watch him a lot, and when he's running, it's usually a good sign that the team's effort is also overall quite strong. And then, maybe we'll talk in the next segment about Marcus Smart, who is, I think, a catalyst for that type of thing in terms of, being the guy who introduces the level of grit that they need on any given night. So we'll do that next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in, meeting a real person, and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and to book your appointment.
You noted it in that first segment, Andy. Marcus Smart was critical, not just in terms of, a late three and all that stuff, but as a tone setter and a guy to kind of anchor the defense. When the Lakers made this push, he was in the center of all of it. And really, when you talk about a team playing hard throughout, a lot of that, kind of goes back to Smart.
We've covered the league a long time, not just the Lakers, which means by definition, we've seen a lot of Marcus Smart over the years. And you hear this from people who cover Marcus Smart teams or just fans like diehards of Smart teams. Marcus Smart can be an adventure. I retweeted myself during this game because maybe a month ago, I noted that a Marcus Smart lob is like a David Lynch movie. Like, it's not for everybody's tastes. It's very bizarre. It will be polarizing and off-putting to some, but you cannot turn away. You cannot not look. And we had one of those lob attempts in this game to LeBron, I believe in the first half. They somehow managed to salvage this thing into points, but Marcus Smart running the break it's a test of nerves, and it's an experience of fear. But I will say this, for all of the first through third quarter bizarre box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get from Marcus Smart. In the fourth quarter, that dude is typically nails. Like, he typically makes very few mistakes, very odd decisions. He tends to use up a lot of his fourth quarter of his threes in the fourth quarter. He makes a lot of big shots in the fourth quarter. He makes a lot of disruptive, catalyzing defensive plays. And like I mentioned earlier, JJ has, I don't even remember what the context was, but JJ said there are three guys who are always going to be in the closing lineup. He did not say who because it's obvious: Luka, LeBron, and Austin. Marcus is becoming, if not in Sharpie, he's in a pen that is a pain in the ass to wipe off. Like,
who else are you going to play? With what he can provide you defensively, in a world where Jared Vanderbilt's not in the rotation anymore, and he was a DNP CD again on Tuesday, and I don't need to argue about whether that's good or bad. Even if he was playing, he would be highly unlikely to be in the finishing lineup. So, like, who else is it gonna be? Other than Marcus Smart? And then, are you going small? Are you going big? If you're going big, which center? You almost have to include Smart in there to kind of counteract some of the defensive weaknesses, even later in games when everybody kind of turns up the juice a little bit.
he just, again, he is really good in these money times. It's something I've noticed a lot throughout this season. Like, there have been a lot of fourth quarters where Marcus Smart has hit a big shot or come up with a big defensive stop. He made a play in the first half of this game where he got caught in no man's land along the sideline and was essentially guarding two guys, one kind of past the three-point line and one of them in the corner. And he managed to steal the pass between the guy at the top of the arc to the guy in the corner, and it turned into a fast break basket for the Lakers. Like, the level of anticipation Smart had in this sequence to turn what could have been an absolute disaster into a Lakers score, it was absolutely incredible the way he played that sequence.
He's just, he is instinctively a very, just obviously has those defensive instincts. His decision making and processing is really, really good. And then, he's also, I know he's not big, like in the sense of he's a rangy 6'8", 6'9" wing who can, but what he is really bleeping strong. And so, you if he ends up bodied up, against a Zion or like he can do a lot of different things as a defender. What do you make too? Because I know we'll hear it on tomorrow, on Wednesday through, it's Cam Brothers on social, whether people are leaving comments on the YouTube page. I'm seeing some in the live chat right now. Like, okay, guys, again, it's another win against a lousy team. I was quite pleased with the fourth quarter execution. Like, you get down there and you badly out execute the other team on both sides of the ball. I think that's a good sign. But yeah, the Pelicans aren't very good, and the two teams they beat before this aren't very good. So what do you make of this one?
I mean, we talked before. The Pelicans are, if nothing else, a good bad team that presents matchup problems for the Lakers. Like, even if you don't think they're a great team, they are a specific challenge with the type of players that they have for the Lakers. Look, the Lakers play Denver on Thursday, and Denver's kind of going through it themselves, and they're dealing with a lot of injuries. It's not exactly clear who's going to be available on Thursday, but they could be missing some guys that matter. And
currently, Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson are still unavailable and probably won't be available on Thursday, but it is at least possible.
Cam Johnson may not be available as well. He's dealing with an ankle injury that kept him from playing on Monday. Spencer Jones, I believe, is also listed as day-to-day. So we'll see who's available. But if the Lakers make as many of the execution issues and problems, mistakes over the first three quarters on Thursday against Denver, they are very likely to lose, because a team like Denver, even as they're going through it, you have a baseline of high-end competency just from Jokic and Murray together. Like,
correct.
They may be the best duo in the league when it comes to just, we can execute in our sleep. Like, we know how to play with each other blindfolded, and you put anyone else around us and we can find a way to make it work. So they're going to have to tighten up the problems that they had in the first three quarters, and they can't count on Denver to make as many mistakes as the Pelicans made throughout this game. We talked about the Lakers turnovers. The Pelicans had 18 themselves, and the Lakers gave up 21 points off turnovers. The Pelicans gave up 29. And, in a game where you won by 9, that 8-point difference, that matters a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm not counting on Denver turning the ball over 18 times, much less allowing the Lakers to get 29 points in the process. Like, they're going to have to play better.
Yeah.
But I don't consider this the same quality of win over a depleted Warriors squad or a depleted and lousy Kings squad. Like, this is a harder win to get, even if you're not totally impressed by the Pelicans.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it is nice to blow out sub 500 teams. I do think if the Pelicans, if they'd been able to start Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, DeJounte Murray, and Sadiq Bey all season long, they would not be 19-44.
This is only Murray's fourth game of the season,
right?
I think.
Like that's just, this starting lineup would not be a 19-win team this deep into the season. I'm not saying they'd be in the playoffs, but they'd have 30 wins or close to it. They'd still be a sub 500 team. Or 26 wins, 27 wins, something like that. Math is not my strong suit, but I think people understand what I mean. Right now I'm in a space, and maybe this is too charitable for them, Andy. We can talk about it some after the break. Maybe we'll carry it into the short segment or whatever. I look at them right now and I just want to see signs. Like, I'm not expecting them to kind of like snap your fingers and be fixed. I want to see signs every game of them doing something that's both hard and helpful. And I think what they did in the fourth quarter, particularly in the last 6 minutes of the game, was both of those things. And so, maybe after the break we can talk about it. But the game Thursday against Denver is all of a sudden a really important one for the standings, which are super duper duper tight. So we'll break all that down next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Game Time. There is nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy in the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part has not always been so easy. And that's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with you, the fans. Regain your power. You can pull up the Game Time app, pick an upcoming NBA game, and you got tickets locked in within minutes. And all with the all-in price up front. There's no surprise fees at checkout. There's no, wait, what is that I just paid for and realized after the fact? Game Time features like seat views makes the decision easy before you purchase, especially because the app is really user-friendly and very user-intuitive. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com.
Do want to remind people about the Everydayer Club. If you are somebody who wants to carry the chat a little further, mix with more fans, mix with Locked On hosts, both us and across the network, you go to lockedonlakers.supercast.com, or you can check out the link in the show notes. You can join the Everydayer Club. You get access to a variety of Discord chats in the Locked On Discord channel. And of course, the show ad-free for you if you want it. $5 a month, $50 a year. If that is of interest to you, again, check out the show notes. Go to lockedonlakers.supercast.com, or do nothing. Continue enjoying the show exactly as you have on this everyday, now twice a day basis, and we will love you just the same. So, the standings, Andy, are crazy because for all the hand-wringing over the Lakers, and they are only 2 games up on the 7th spot. The Suns beat the Kings on Tuesday. The Lakers are, with this 3-game win streak, a game and a half out of 3rd. And they got a couple games against Houston coming up. And they have a game against 5th place Denver Thursday. So
they also have a game next week against the Timberwolves.
Yeah. So like all of these teams they play, that's both scary, but it's also an opportunity. Like I realize why people talk about the Lakers the way they do, but it's easy to think that they're worse than they are, or that they're in a worse spot in the standings than they are because of those problems. The reality is they are right in the middle of stuff. And if they can carry some of these habits in against the good teams, still can find themselves in the top 4 before it's all said and done.
We've talked about this a lot over the course of the year. They are a good team. They're not a great team. And the things that keep them from being a great team, their vulnerabilities and weaknesses, are extremely difficult to paper over. I'm not going to say they're impossible, because maybe give this team enough time, hopefully healthy over the rest of the season. They can find a way to create the greatest sum of their parts, find some of the best workarounds, and then hope that you get a big night from Luka or a big night from LeBron, a big night from Austin.
Right. Who, by the way, needs to get better. Like we did that show about some of the sacrifices he's making offensively, and I think that to some degree carries through, but like he does need to be better.
He is sacrificing, I'm sure, he definitely is in terms of just raw, whether it is self-sacrifice, like volunteered sacrifice, or just the way the cookie crumbles right now. And
I think it's the latter.
Well, it likely is the latter. I doubt I don't mean this as a knock on Austin, but I doubt he's volunteering for it.
No, I just think they sort of the way the games flow, they've got essentially 3-point guards. So
right. No, we've talked about it all season. It is in a lot of ways an awkward, redundant fit between the three of them that they're trying to find ways to loosen up and make less awkward as possible. But Austin's 3-point percentage has gone up during this period, but his overall field goal percentage has gone down. He has struggled more when he's not taking outside shots. He has struggled more around the rim, and the numbers going down are more than just a byproduct of lower usage. They're a byproduct of not being as efficient of a player. And whether
he's been out of rhythm since he came back from the injury overall.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. Not when he was first coming off the bench on the minutes restriction. He actually looked great. Yeah, where he's really struggled is upon coming back into the starting lineup off a minutes restriction with Luka and LeBron also there.
Yeah.
Like he actually, when he first came back, looked really good. But again, he was on a minutes restriction and coming off the bench. And of course, that is going to create a rabbit hole of conversation and ideas from fans. James Worthy actually in the Spectrum Sportsnet postgame, he did broach the idea of playing Austin off the bench.
I have never been precious about who starts and who finishes. The part that I think is what's going to matter here is that whether he starts or comes off the bench, Reeves is going to play 35 minutes a night.
Sure.
And from that perspective, he's going to close games. So like, no matter how you arrange this, you can manipulate it to get a little bit of wiggle room to, have him, run more second unit stuff without Luka there, however you want to do it. But there's not that much of it because you've got three guys and a player who's going to make, play 35 minutes a night minimum. And in a 48-minute game, that doesn't leave you a lot of space. So
no, it doesn't.
All I'm saying is people can have that, bring him off the bench, fine. But unless you mean bring him off the bench and only play him 26 minutes a game, which is not going to happen, I just feel like the conversation in some ways becomes like a distraction for fans.
Well, look, I have no idea the minute count James Worthy was thinking in his head when he mentioned this on Spectrum Sportsnet. I can only speak for myself. I'm talking about, as you said, manipulating minutes in the same way, like a month or so ago when I mentioned the idea of, I don't think it would work bringing back LeBron unless he was simply open to the idea, at minimum, open to the idea of coming off the bench. It's not about declaring LeBron a bench player. It's not about declaring Austin a bench player. It's about trying to problem solve, or trying to land on solutions. All three of them are clearly high-end starting caliber players. That's not the point.
Right. And ML Bolt 5 is making the point, if you were going to put somebody on the bench, wouldn't it be LeBron? And theoretically, that would actually make the most sense.
Yes.
And LeBron was very successful again in that, early second quarter, going in transition, working with outs, although a little bit more with Austin as JJ continues tinkering with his stuff. But, LeBron has been quite good as the only player in the big three on the floor. His numbers are insane.
I've mentioned before those looks when it's like him and either Deandre or Jaxson Hayes. I think both work. It's often been with Deandre, but both work. Like some combination of Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard and Rui or Laravia, like a bunch of other guys who don't need the ball in their hands, but they can play with energy and some physicality. And LeBron matches that, and he runs the whole show. It's worked really well. I mean, look, let's be honest. If it was any other 41-year-old not named LeBron or James, right, he would be the guy coming off the bench. Like it would just make sense. Again, this isn't about declaring LeBron a bench player or Austin a bench player. It's about trying to land on solutions. Again, it's not going to happen. So it's more of an academic conversation than like a strong recommendation. But the academic conversation does reflect the riddle the Lakers are trying to solve. Like this is why the conversation actually matters, because right, it's not about predicting or lobbying for something that we think is going to happen. It's about trying to land on the balance that works.
Well, and you know, in some spaces, it's a Rorschach test on just, do you think Reeves sucks and shouldn't be paid? And like, there's a little bit, but you're right.
Or do you dislike LeBron?
Right. For the most part, it is just like, okay, this is the team we have. Like, conversation probably for a different day, but I know like one of the things you've advocated for is at the very least, you know, you need to be open to the concept of trading AR this summer if the right player were to come along. It's funny, like, you know, probably the best avenue if you want LeBron to be on the team next year is to, you know, would be if Reeves get traded, because it theoretically rebalances things. And by the way, keeping LeBron around is a horrendous reason to trade Reeves. I'm just saying, like, when
this is what a lot of people think.
This
is what a lot of people think that Rich Paul has been doing on his podcast with Max Kellerman. He's just coming up with different ways to incept trading Austin Reeves so LeBron can remain with the Lakers, because it's essentially one less obstacle towards making that happen. I don't happen to think that is what Rich Paul's doing. I'm just saying that is a very, very popular conspiracy theory.
It is. The whole thing is just, it is a reminder that rosters are tough to put together, and you know, the complementary nature of your skill set makes a big difference. We'll spend, I suspect, an enormous amount of time looking at, you know, how the roster fits together, who they might want to go and get, and all that kind of stuff. But the team that they have right now is still, I mean, JJ's going to be tinkering with this stuff, like basically right up to the finish line. And, you know, you just hope that they keep putting little victories together in terms of how they play and the consistency of it. The floor goes up. And they figure it out.
Just hope they stay on the floor, man. There was a sequence where Austin got hit in the funny bone, but you couldn't tell upon the initial.
I thought he broke his hand.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Austin broke his right hand. I was like, you got to be kidding me. He was blocking. I think he was blocking Zion.
He got Zion coming up to put the ball up, went straight through Austin's elbow.
But I was like, you got to be bleeping me, man. Like, are you kidding? It turned out Austin's fine, but
no, I didn't like that at all. So let's close here. And we'll, you know, and obviously we'll have plenty as we get ready for Denver and keep looking at this stuff. And, you know, again, we're coming at you more than once a day. Just want to say, I realize he is not a perfect player. I realize he has got flaws. The speed at which Zion moves at his size is bonkers.
Yeah,
it just really is. Like, you know, some of the it's staggering. Anyway, Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can hang out with over 37,000 subscribers. We appreciate everybody stopping by and helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in this or any other known universe. We will see everyone next time.